My name is Darlena, and I'm from Brooklyn, and I've been a Star Trek fan. I've been a Star Trek fan since forever. My parents brainwashed me while I was still in London Philly. What they would do, yes, is by the time I was born, the original series was, of course, doing reruns. And so my parents would always have us sit down and watch a Star Trek episode, and then afterwards they would ask us, what did we get from the episode? What did we like about the episode? What was its meaning? So from that point on, I've always looked at Star Trek as something that I can use to talk with young people that I mentor about life and the human experience. I've used Star Trek episodes when I did diversity training for my company. And it always was a good icebreaker and it started everyone talking. So it's just a really great, wonderful fandom that we have. And I'm so proud it's the 50th. And it's going to continue for 50 more years, thanks to JJ and everyone else. So, part of the Star Trek fandom is, of course, cosplaying and making characters, costumes from the characters that we love. So what we're going to do is we have a group of panelists here that's going to discuss different aspects of creating costumes. My group is the Starbase Centaur 4210. We are a Star Trek club here in New York. We do photo shoots, we do charity work, we volunteer at science fairs, we do various appearances, we do dinner screenings. In fact, we have Sunday coming up after the con at 7 o'clock a dinner screening, and I have flyers here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce everyone, and then I'm going to do my brief explanation of how I create my costumes. To my left, I have Foxy Squire. She's going to talk about special effect makeup. To her left, I have the wonderful Lawrence Niels, and he is sort of an amateur cosplayer. He's going to give his perspective for those of you who are amateurs. You may be a little nervous. He's going to let you know you don't have to be nervous because he got into it, and so can you. To his left, I have the wonderful General Jonathan Slavin from the USS Iwo Jima. He also is a talented seamstress and creates his own costumes for him and his family and members of his group. To his left, I have the wonderful Michael Nguyen. I'm sorry, say your name. Nguyen. Michael Nguyen. He is the founder of the New York City Away Team, and they're another Star Trek club. They get together and do wonderful outings and events and activities. Okay, so one of the things to start off with costuming is, of course, the basic. Those two. Getting measurements of yourself, okay? Men measurements, women measurements, okay? And I have copies here for you guys to take. This is just a basic way in which seamstresses measure every inch and aspect of the human body to get the sizing that's necessary that you're going to use as a pattern for any costume you make. If you want to, there are different ways you can make a pattern of your body. Once you write down all of the inches and everything like that, from shoulder to shoulder, waist to waist, and things like that, you can use various types of pattern-making materials, such as pattern paper. And these products you can get at the Garment District or basically any well-supplied costuming store or sewing store. Also, you can use a material that's known as muslin. It's like $1 a yard, and it's plain cream-colored material, and I use that a lot for creating a pattern of my body. When you have a pattern of your body, you can always adjust it as you lose and gain weight. That's your basic pattern for making any type of costume. For those of you who are not good at measuring, and sometimes I also get my measurements off, in the beginning, before I got better at it, what I would do is I would just go and buy a costume off the store, and I would rip up the seams, or I would take old clothes. As a cosplayer, you don't throw away anything because you never know what you can use. You can take old clothes and rip up the seams, and you can use that as your pattern. So a lot of times I would do that and then go to the material stores and buy the material that I want. I do a lot of shopping at the material stores on 38th and 37th Street because they have a wide range of materials. The different materials that can be used, a lot of people like to use spandex, but thankfully we live in a city where we are at the heart of the costuming community. Our material stores here in the city have a lot of different types of material. So if you like basic spandex, that's fine. But if you want to get a more screen kind of thickness look to your Star Trek outfit, particularly the uniforms, because I do a lot of stretching and posing. So I like to get spandex mixed with cotton, or spandex mixed with wool, or gabardine, and it has that nice rich feel to it, and a nice rich look, but at the same time it gives you the stretch and elasticity that you need. I usually buy material that is 2-, 3-, or 4-way stretch. 4-way stretch is a little more expensive, but the stretchiness of the material adds to the comfort. I have some examples here. I have vinyl, and I have some other material here that I use sometimes. I don't have any of the spandex mixture, but Jonathan and the others will talk to you about that. Also, if you want to make props, and I'm just going through this kind of briefly because we don't have a lot of time. If you want to make props, I usually make my props out of 2 different types of materials. One is warbler. And this is an example of warbler. This is, it comes in a flat sheet, and you cut what you need. And then I usually just take a hair dryer, and I blow the warbler and shape it into what I'm trying to create. So I made this to shape for gauntlet, okay? And it's very pretty, as you can see, and it's very sturdy. And what's great about warbler is that you can take other pieces of warbler and warm it up and attach it to this to make the little designs that you want to make. And then you can just spray paint this. You coat it with a primer and then spray paint it 2 or 3 times, and you can get that wonderful gauntlet look. But I like to work with warbler. It's very sturdy, but it does take work because you have to put heat on it to shape it to what you want. Also, these are 3 different types of foams that a lot of people make for leg and arm gauntlets or body parts. This part here, this is what is called just basic felt foam. It's craft foam, it's very thin, it's cheap, it's easy to buy. A lot of people use this to make wings, another type of, you can use it for gauntlets and everything like that, another type of accessories for your costume. Again, you get it and you cut it into whatever design you want, you spray paint it, you shellac it, and it turns out really good. It's all about what you want to work with and what you feel comfortable with, as well as your budget. And that's one of the things with cosplay. Michael will talk about that, how to budget yourself and time yourself. This is another type of foam. It is a thin EVA foam. A lot of people also use this for props and for accessories. Again, you cut the shape that you want, you prime it. With this, you have to prime and spray paint a lot, but it does come out beautiful. This is another thicker foam. This is what is called anti-fatigue foam. And this is the type of foam that they usually have laid on the floor in children's centers and community centers because it's nice and thick and sturdy. It's hard to work with, but when you bend it and you have to use a lot of Easy 6000 with this foam because it's very thick. But once you again shellac it and prime it, it comes out really, really nice. I started out with craft foam, then this foam, then anti-fatigue foam, and then I'm satisfied with warbler. So most of my prop making supplies are always warbler. It's very expensive, so that's why a lot of people just use warbler very, loosely. But foam is, this type of foams are the popular foams that people use for a lot of their cosplays. Okay, also I want to just share briefly a real inexpensive way to make a pattern of your body is to take saran wrap. And I know, does anyone here ever use a saran wrap to make a pattern of their body? Okay. Hey, when you're on a budget, you gotta do what you gotta do. You take this saran wrap. I did one for my lower arm. You wrap the saran wrap around your body part. You take duct tape and you tape it around the saran wrap, and then you cut it. And what you get is a pattern of whatever body part you're trying to make a gauntlet for. So that's just a cheap way of doing it, for those who are not good with measurements, you gotta do what you gotta do. Also, I found something very interesting. I went shopping for boots, and I looked at this insert, and I said, this insert is very interesting because I can use this to make leg gauntlets, and I'll show you why. Those of you who, again, are not great with measuring, you get yourself the insert. Don't throw the insert away. The insert already comes measured to your leg because you're buying the boot size based on your foot size. So you take out the insert, and voila, you have your own pattern here. Okay, you don't even have to do any measurements, anything. The company did it for you. That's just really kind of like, as basic as you can get. I mean, of course, like if you can do measurements and all that, and you can work with the phone, that's great. Other than that, boot inserts work. My guy friends are constantly stealing my boot inserts to make their their leg, armor and everything like that. So these materials are good for armor and everything. Again, it just takes a lot of primer and a lot of spray paint. Some people use acrylic paint for designs and everything like that. But these are basic materials that are easy to buy. Like I said, rubber is a little expensive, but foam is what people use a lot to make. And not just accessories for your costume, but also props for you to carry. People use the foam to make things that look like guns and spears and everything like that. And it's something that you can bring into the convention, because nowadays with the convention rules, you can't bring in anything that looks real, anything that's made of wood, anything that's made of whatever. Okay, so usually your weapons, a lot of people are now making weapons out of foam because it's convention friendly. Okay, so I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to pass you on to Lawrence. And Lawrence is going to come up and share his experiences with costuming from someone who's still fairly new into it.
I got to do the whole turn and everything? Yeah. So I work in musical theater. I'm one of the 3 straight musical theater dancers in the entire city. Put that in there too. And I still have a nice stuff. So my name is Lawrence. Just a little bit about me. I've been into Star Trek since I was about 7 years old. And it purely because it was something that came on past the time I was supposed to be asleep, and my grandmother let me watch it. But I got into it. I loved the costumes. When I was, after about 4 or 5 years of watching it after about 2 or 3 years of watching it as a child, someone told me that they have conventions, and I went to my first convention, and that was the first time I ever saw anyone in costume doing cosplay. And I was like, oh wait, people dress up as this too. So I went and I bought the patterns. It was the next generation spandex one piece, extremely hot, doesn't breathe, doesn't actually stretch costume. And my poor aunt, my poor mother made that costume for me, and that was my first costume that was ever made. It's not remotely screen accurate, but I didn't care about that. I was 10. I still have that costume today. My poor child, whoever it ends up being, is going to have to wear it at some point. And then I went on to having the next costume that I made. Years later in high school was my first Monster Maroon jacket, which is a variation of what this gentleman is wearing right here, John. And that one I actually made with my aunt, because at that point I was studying costuming in theater school. So fast forward years later, I'm in theater, and I actually dropped out of the convention scene because real life happened, and I grew up. And then discovered I didn't need to grow up, and I got back into conventioning and cosplaying only about 4 years ago. As a combination of 2 things, which is what you were mentioning about the tape and measurement, I realized I'm not at the ability to make anything from scratch at all yet. But working in theater, you learn to use whatever you have. So my beginnings of getting back into cosplay, which I started cannibalizing things. I would find a jacket backstage from a show that wasn't being done. I'd take that, attach it to the arms of something else. The parts were already there, and I used that to start crafting my first sets of costumes. Along with the help of a friend of mine who was a costume designer who would, if I needed something cut out or patterned, she would do it for me and show me how to put the parts together. So as opposed to doing it completely from scratch, I'm sort of doing, I don't want to say paint by numbers. Tab A, slot B. It's IKEA cosplay. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. All the parts. So I've gotten really good at cannibalizing, the thing of cannibalizing. Along with finding materials when you're building complete from scratch, I find myself in thrift stores a lot. I find myself in hardware stores a a lot, believe it or not. I find myself in places where they sell things that have nothing to do with clothing and costume, but have to do with material like old sheets and stuff, and using those to put them together to make different costume pieces. I also find myself, if there's a costume that I like and it's beyond my abilities at the moment or too expensive, I'm going to ship from Star Trek. And one of the first costumes that Star Trek put together was actually the Battlestar Galactica costume. Which is basically a military costume that's been customized to the show. So rather than build it from scratch, I went out and found a military costume and then tore it apart, cut all the scenes, and then put it back together so it looked the way it looked at the show. Then acquired the other pieces, the badges, anything that I could buy commercially to put together. Whatever I couldn't, if it was, say, a piece of metal or technology that was on it, well, what looks like it? And I find myself in a hardware store. Me and the hardware section of Super Kmart on 34th Street are really good friends when it comes to costume. Also, with putting together the weapons and stuff, I didn't have the knowledge at the time to do barbell or foam or anything. So I used what was handy. Old tubes, what do you call them? I think it's put on the forehead, poster tubes. Poster tubes, straws, straws for making darts, poster tubes. I did learn how to bend PVC in order to make a bow cast for a Green Arrow costume that I had that came out really, really good, and then spray painting it and putting it together. So if you're starting cosplay dead from scratch, and you don't have the money to go out and buy, say, an insanely expensive one, and you don't have the know-how yet to build completely from scratch, a good way of getting started is to simply find something that's close and modify it. So you're taking something that already exists and you're turning it into what you want to. I'm actually working right now, I got the idea this week, taking a navy white marine, dress white marine uniform, and I'm going to convert it into a customized costume. I've already cut off the sleeves. The idea is that for a second, and I was sure. I was actually trying to talk about this. No, stay there, just top. Oh, just the top. Yes. Just your sexy top, boo. So, if you've ever seen a Navy or Marine Corps dress white uniform, it basically looks the same except there are buttons down the center and it has a high collar. I want to have a Monster Maroon. I'm not going to have a Monster Maroon anytime soon because I don't have time to make one from scratch and don't have the money to buy one. So what I've been doing is getting all of the same paraphernalia. I'm getting the pattern for this, which I already have. I'm going to add the extra flap that is within my ability to sew on to extend the jacket over to the side. And I'm going to add this, which is also within my ability at the moment, and add the fold-over flap, which will make it Starfleet. And then just proceed to make modifications, adding the wristbands, buying material and adding on the wrench stripes, the buttons, pins, is all, thank you. I just wanted to see how pretty it looked. All of that is really, really simple. What I found along with, with my cosplaying, venturing into the cosplay now, is the most important thing to have is patience. I've destroyed a lot of stuff in the last 2 years. Is to have patience and also to utilize the abilities of those you have around us. This costume that I'm actually wearing right now is a commission that I did not make it entirely on my own. I helped make it. A friend of mine who's a costume designer wrapped me in tape, and then we reverse engineered another costume that we saw, which is a costume that they had that wasn't being used, it didn't fit, it wasn't right, but we completely tore it apart, and then used that to make the basis for making one that actually did fit me, that actually was right. So that's...
So basically for you would say, for those who are not great at sewing and don't even want to learn how to sew, because I do have friends that don't know how to sew, don't want to learn how to sew. But they do like you. They'll go into the thrift stores, or Army and Navy stores, or whatever.
You may not
take stuff and
you may not be able to sew it to like cut a pattern, sew it properly, line it. But if everyone here is taking apart something and putting it together, if you walk into a store, buy an old jacket, and literally just tear it apart at the seams and put it back together on the exact same seams. Now you have a basis to start with. I actually have gotten, over the last 2 years, I actually am making stuff now on my own. My problem is I don't have enough time to devote to making stuff. But that's how I pretty much got started. With You can find something, you tear it apart, and you put it back together again. You can find a jacket that's absolutely perfect, but the sleeves are wrong. Tear the sleeves off, and you can make the sleeves or find the sleeves from someplace else and put them together. Cannibalization is a great tool for cosplaying. For props, for costumes, it is an awesome tool for cosplay, and not to be undersold at all.
Well, no, because like when you go to the Salvation Army, I go there too. In fact, this little bib here was actually part of a top. And I sold the top and I said, if I cut everything else and just take that, I can make the bib for my outfit. So, and you know, the Salvation Army stores are very cheap. My character is Marissa from That Which Survives in the original series. And so my outfit is just basically, this is just tulle, but it's a different type of tulle because it has the sheen and the glitter to it. And it's easy to just buy trim and sew on and everything like that. And these also came from the trim store. Normally, for some costumes, and I know all of you probably will do this, some costumes takes a while because of the intricacy. And then other costumes, if you can take something out your closet or go into Salvation Army and get something and contour it, it definitely cuts out the time. It cuts down on the time, particularly if you have a very busy schedule.
The armed gauntlets that apparently everyone loved from the Arsenal costume that I had are Pringles cans. I couldn't find the material. And I was sitting there eating, and I was like, I have 3 days before this convention. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I looked at it and just went, and I pulled out a knife, and I cut it in half, and I went, that actually fits. So I figured out, I figured out how to cut the pattern out for it. I cleaned it, because, you know, greasy Pringles can. And then I went and actually wrapped it in saran wrap, and then wrapped it in saran wrap, and then wrapped it in electrical tape, primed it over that so that I could paint it over that again, and went and bought Velcro straps.
Okay.
And hot glue gun, the Velcro strap.
Hot glue gun is your favorite friend.
Hot glue gun is another thing, along with the blow dryer.
6,000.
Favorite friend, and it didn't fit perfectly, but with the hair dryer, I was actually able to get it to
fold and mold, yeah.
around. And indistinguishable once it was done from something that was done that way if you didn't know how it was made ahead of time.
Wonderful, thank you, thank you. Next, we're going to have the general share with us how he creates his costumes and also his little doodads that he has there. There's a lot of you he makes from scratch. General?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Slavin. I'm the commanding officer of the independent Star Trek fan group called the USS Iwo Jima, right here in the tri-state area. Now, I have learned and self-taught myself to sew. I bought a sewing machine. I want to learn how to make I go to conventions, and I'd like to, instead of buying a cheap knockoff uniform, I wanted to be a Starfleet officer. So I bought a sewing machine, and I bought a few patterns, and I learned and taught myself and self-studied how fabrics lay in the body, and that's the best thing. Once you know what fabrics to use, it's golden. So I use mostly stretch denim. Stretch denim has spandex, cotton, and a few other things in it, but with stretch denim, it gives you that wool elastique that they use on Star Trek. A yard of wool elastique is $100. That's why uniforms look the way they do on the show. And they're almost 20-ounce grain. So if you understand ounces in fabric, just like in the Wrath of Khan uniform, you get a certain look on screen. It looks thick, almost like a tiny wool jacket. That's why it's so thick. So the original uniforms were made with ripcord from the movie, and yet to buy all that stuff on an individual, it's cost prohibitive. So I use stretch denim on all my uniforms, or cotton based. My other uniforms I can hang to wash to dry, unlike the Wrath of Khan, which you're gonna have to dry clean, or do it by your own dry clean kit. But other than that, with the Wrath of Khan, I buy patterns, and then I have a man form, just like you can buy a woman's form in Joann's or other fabric stores. You have to order a way for a man form, and it's adjustable. So we'll go up to 48, 44 inches, down to 38, and it'll give you your measurements, your height, and from there, I can take the pattern, and I'm able to size up and size down the patterns, and from that, I can make a full uniform. And the Wrath of Khan uniform, if anyone has ever attempted to make one, for example, what I'm wearing, It is styled like a real suit, like a real military officer's suit, where you have, for the men and for the women, you have suit shoulder pads and padding in the sleeves to give it that nice rounded look. And then in between both the outer shell and inner shell, you have to put either synthetic hair, or you can use canvas, which is easy to get. Wash it first, cut it down, and it's very easy, gives it that rigid look. And I will show you also that from the same pattern. Zoe, please stand up, come to the front of the stage.
Joey,
Let me go over there. And from there, I was able,
the future of Star Trek cosplay.
I'm good enough where I custom make uniforms from scratch. So that is the custom design. There is no child's pattern for a Wrath of Khan. All of Zoe's uniforms are custom made. And Zoe, if you open up the front flap, show them that it is a functional Wrath of Khan. Snaps and chains, and I have the scars in the hands to say. My other uniforms, I'm going to be wearing on Sunday I like to smash up uniforms is the word, where you take different patterns and redesign them and customize them. So I created everyone sees Star Trek First Contact, the gray, the black and gray, they brought it over to Deep Space Nine and a couple episodes of Voyager. Well, I custom created a flag officer version based on the TNG flag officer or dress uniform. So I quilt using a quilting foot on the sewing machine, and you put your cotton fabric, your cotton fill between the two layers, and you quilt. And the First Contact uniform was quilted, so that's how you get that ribbed look. It wasn't fiber fill, unlike on the real Wrath of Khan. They fiber filled the channels, and they used a special needle that was like only 2 in the world they had left, and they found a special machine that would shoot the fiber fill through the needle into the channels. So if you watch the away team code from landing party code is what they called it, and now they call it away team. But the landing party code, the engineering officers or engineering personnel, environmental suits, they were fiber filled with the special needle. You can't get that anymore. So what you got to do is you got to sew your channel, and you take your fiber fill with a wooden dowel that comes with it, and you shove it into the fiber fill to fill the channel, and then you close it off. Other tricks, so if you actually watch a high definition, now in high definition you actually see the zippers and all the stuff they hid from the regular episode. In Star Trek The Cage, on the Cage episodes, and where no one's gone before, was the first time they really used hidden zippers. You want to know how they got those sweaters onto people? They had a hidden zipper in the neck area down to the shoulder. And then on the women's uniforms, there's a zipper in the back. So there's a lot of stuff that they hid on the show where they didn't want to show zippers. So when they were filming The Wrath of Khan, they didn't want to have snaps. They didn't want to have anything visible. So they had black silk-covered snaps. And then they wanted to have something to make it look like a metallic sealing device. So they have on The Wrath of Khan the chain that goes interlinked between the snaps. So on camera, it looked like a metallic, type of way to close up the uniform. And then the twist lock is another design they added in. But if you're making your own uniform, to get back on track, if you're doing your own stuff, study what you want to do. Study, get a pattern. You can get a pattern from roddenberry.com. You get a pattern from other places. A good pattern. There are many out there. It's a trial and error. Some are made by people and they hand draw them, and they're always not even. So you want to get a good pattern, and then you want to study the pattern. You want to make mock-ups. And remember, you want to walk out there and have something. It's called ready to wear. That's the whole idea. It's like as if you're going into Saks Fifth Avenue and buying a clothing off the rack or the Gap or Target. That's ready to wear. So you want to make sure when you make a costume, or a uniform is what I call them, you want to make sure it's something that you want to wear and it fits you, and it's gonna live. It's gonna be able to be cleaned and worn. Not something that you're gonna make once and say like, okay, I gotta rip it off me and I can't wear it again. So that's the first thing, you gotta study, and then you gotta practice. Anyone can make anything. I never went to school to study, doing uniforms and costumes. I just picked it up as a hobby, and it's a wonderful thing, but as long as you know what you take a shot. And there's nothing wrong in failing, because look, I've failed many. I have this story of buying polyester gabardine to make a next generation uniform. It was polyester, they call it wool, but it's polyester. And it was shredding on the sewing machine. So that's the first time that I was like a little bit like frustrated. And then I bought the jumpsuit pattern. I bought cotton twill, and it lasted a while. You could wash it, you can hang it. And then it got me back on track. Then I bought a serger, and wow, what you can do with a serger.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pass off. If you have any questions, we can answer more later.
I just want to say, wait a minute, I want to ask one thing. What do you use when you do a mock-up? Does mock-up save you money for not having to go back and buy more material because you messed up what you bought? Do you use the material for mock-up only?
I don't mock up. I don't mock up. I measure.
Mm-hmm.
I measure, and I've got like the curved ruler for the thighs, for the shoulders, for the arms, for the ribs. And then I use a regular ruler, and I have a ruler for the neck and the arms. And as long as you study a pattern, and I have a man form, so I can put the fabric out on the man form, and then I can pin it, and I go, okay, this is how it's going to look. And for example, Ben, when you stand up, that's my son Ben, and I use the men's medium at my Ben, and that's his monster maroon. So once you understand how fabric lays on the body and everything, you can bend over there. Oh, or Vulcan, he's not logical. So, open it up. So once you can if you buy a man form, sure you can do all these measurements, but if you buy a form, a woman's form, a man form that's close to your body, and you can adjust it, you can get perfect. You know exactly how much fabric you need to cut a little here, how you can cut in. A lot of the patterns have an inch seam allowance, a half inch, so I can usually go a little bit further in, knowing that where my seam allowance lies and how I want it to look on the body. And I usually like to bring it in on the side so you get that nice Italian suit look for your uniform, because a uniform is like a suit, and if it's done right, it's golden.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Michael.
Hi, so my name's Michael. Just if you want to keep in touch or find me in a non-stalker way, it's Michael's Cosplay on Facebook. I'm actually wearing an X-Wing pilot costume in that picture, so sorry I didn't prepare, but... So, about costumes, so how many people here, just by show of hands, are planning or wanting to get a new Star Trek costume like in the next couple months? Okay, if you can keep your hands up. And out of all of you who have your hands up, how many of you plan on learning how to sew and make that garment within the next couple months? Okay.
I am available for commission work.
The reason why I bring that up is that we all have time. Everyone has 24 hours in a day, 365 days in a year. It's how we use that time that differs. So for me, definitely I would love to learn how to sew and achieve like what these guys do. But the reality is I probably need to vacuum my living room at some point, or take out trash, and those things are going to get in the way of that. So for people like me, maybe for a few people out there, we're not going to be making a lot of costumes. And then it comes into knowing where to buy, how to buy, who not to buy from, and then deciding for yourself, and this is really important. The great thing about Star Trek costuming is that there's a total amount of acceptance, far more than any other genre. It's all about inclusivity and kind of accepting people as they are. And in Vegas, in Star Trek Vegas, I've seen people with red t-shirts and some creative permanent marker and some fabric paint, and they are just as much a part of the family like anybody else. But so for you personally who are thinking about getting a new costume, and my friends who've heard this before are going to be tired of me saying it, but you guys will think it'll be really cool, I hope, is the 3 C's. And you have to decide for yourself how close you want your costume to look to the screen, how comfortable you want it to be, and how much you're willing to let it cost you. So cost, comfort, closeness, that's up to you. You decide that. So I was at a convention last weekend, and a guy looked at my costume, and he said, you gotta get the right boots. And I kind of said, no, I don't. Or I'll give you my Amazon wish list, and you can buy them for me. But I just decided that for me, that detail is not important. Whereas for the toe's a little bit too pointy, so. Yeah, so he would say the same thing to both of us, but so you just have to kind of decide for yourself where you want that to be. So for me, Star Trek 09, I like the costume, I like hanging out with my friends who wear it, but it's not my favorite costume, so I'm not going to invest the same amount of time, money, and effort that I might in my Wrath of Khan costume. And if I wanted a super accurate Wrath of Khan costume, then I guess pull the $1,200 out of my back pocket and go buy one upstairs at a Novus, which is probably not going to happen either. So
$950.
yeah, so we all pay rent. So, and then the last thing I would tell you is you just have to decide again for yourself if you want something that is what I like to call fun accurate. So it's as accurate as you need to be to feel like you're part of the fun. Whether you want something production accurate, which is where they made it exactly with the materials and the patterns and everything they did for the actual show. And then there's screen accurate, because you may own something that's production accurate, but if you don't have guys, holding television lighting over you and someone looking at you through a monitor, it may not look exactly the same. So 3 C's, fun accurate, production accurate, screen accurate, and Michael's cosplay.
Would you say when you're beginning to decide what kind of costume to make, that is based on, like you said, cost and the proximity of the convention that you want to have the costume for, and do you recommend that that when someone's first kind of starting a cosplay, that they try to do an intricate costume first or less intricate costume first?
Less intricate.
Yeah, and it depends on what you get your satisfaction out of. So I have friends of mine that are not at all really that big into Star Trek, but they love making the costumes because they like the work. Whereas other people like myself is kind of like, well, let's get somebody else to make it and I'll just wear it. I'm fine with that too. So my advice with costumes and closest to cons is I see a lot of people posting on Facebook about how stressed out they are right before convention. I'm just like, wow, that's your vacation and you're intentionally making it so that you're going to be stressed out. That's just not, I wouldn't recommend it. So it's like if you have a great costume idea and it's like maybe 5 days before the convention, maybe save that one until next year and then focus on enjoying the conventions.
Right, good advice. Okay, last but not least, yes, sir.
The thing about making a costume is really, honestly, it depends on what it is. It might take me 4 days for myself, but if you're really going to try to tackle something intricately right before a con and you don't have the level, you got to practice. It's sort of like learning to drive or learning to ride a bike. You didn't just get on the bike and go, whoop, doom, there I go. So learning to make your own uniform, it's like baby steps. Get a simple pattern. Do the original series pajama uniforms is what I consider that. Something, once you get the experience, once you really realize, oh, if I take pattern piece A, and that sews into pattern piece B, and pattern piece B sews into pattern piece D, oh my God, I got a uniform. If you understand how to read patterns, because they can get more complex. I'm telling you, in a Wrath of Khan, for example, there are multiple parts. There's an inner jacket that, when you open the flap, it's a whole part that goes back this way. And to do it right, you got to put hidden buttons in, and then you got the inner flap. So in the scene when you see Savick standing like that, when they come back onto the ship, when they come back from the moon base, and they're saying all that stuff in the line, and Kirk's getting his clean uniform. There are hidden buttons that they don't show you while they're on production.
Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the more intricate costumes that you got to be aware of that when you make it. And that's a lot of times the patterns don't explain stuff. So you got to understand and study and realize, all right, if I put that together, why is it not lining up flat? Oh, I need to put canvassing in, I need to put mohair in, I need to put something in to give it that regality, just like a suit.
So you would say that people, when they see what goes into a costume that helps them to decide whether they should wait for the next con or to.
Yeah, and just one quick comment is that you have to decide whether those details are important to
Well,
you.
important to you.
So most seamstresses or tailors will charge you for each button that you put on. That's 15 minutes of work, and if they're charging minimum wage for each one, that that's a lot of money that adds up. So you just have to decide.
I would say we just
Okay, I'm sorry.
Do you mind? It's funny you mentioned that. My first Monster Maroon jacket actually doesn't have the inner jacket, so I never wore it open because it was mine and my parents' first attempt at doing it, and I knew that wasn't important, but I wanted to have it, so we didn't put the inner jacket in it at all. But
you still look like you have fun.
Exactly. But like you said, I made the choice of this jacket gets worn closed all the time. I can't open it up because if you open up the flap, you find nothing.
Well, see, that's another choice that you have to make. You can say, I know all this goes into this costume, I don't have time, I'll just wear the front part and never open it, and I'm looking good. Okay, so when you go to the photo shoot, they say, everyone take down your flap, you step, but that's okay. You working anyway. Okay, we're gonna move on. We have about 15 minutes left. I want to let Foxy talk about ideas for makeup and hair.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I saw a lot of people raising their hands that they were going to try and tackle some new uniforms and things like that, and that's amazing. I love shopping, so I tend to shop for a lot of my stuff. The skater dress, I dug through and found. So I try and do different makeup things when I do something that I'm going to buy, like ready wear. I'll try and do some FX makeup to really bring out the rest of it. Because there's no wrong way to do Star Trek cosplay. A couple of tips for the makeup portion of it. Some things to probably have in your arsenal: masking tape, sunglasses, liquid latex, tissue, cotton ball, and ball cap. So let's kind of look at a few things for how to do something. The first thing you want to do, of course, is wash your face. Start with a clean canvas; it'll make it a lot easier for you. You want to research whatever character that you are going to do. You're looking at pictures right now that are going up of me with different things that I've done with FX makeup. Sometimes I painted my face, sometimes I do some other stuff, and I'll get into some of that after I give you the tip parts. So once you've researched your character, you want to really collect pictures of a character that will show close up to the face. Sometimes even a humanoid character has a special way they do their eye makeup because they're from some planet. Maybe they have some sort of scar somewhere. You really want to know those things. That's going to differentiate what you're doing versus what somebody else did with a permanent marker. And sometimes little things will get you 5 extra pictures, or your face somewhere that you didn't know, just because you paid attention to that detail. And don't be afraid of YouTube. It helps to be able to look at a YouTube and see how somebody maybe made a scar, and then try it for yourself a few times. Definitely practice as if you were going to sew. You're going to practice on your face. Do the scar a few different ways. Maybe it's a new race that you're trying to put together, and now the scar needs to be on both sides, or go across your forehead. Then you want to find makeup that matches the skin tone or color of the character that you're trying to do. So if the character, for example, the green woman who has always, I believe she's Orion?
Yes.
Yeah, who did the dance for Kirk. Her skin is blue, but if you look up, people from Orion actually have blue and green skin. So make that decision. Are you blue skinned Orion or are you green skinned Orion? Then you need to make how Orion, if you're going to wear green skin that time, make sure you have blacks and whites so you can contour, because Orion still wear makeup. So just because your skin is blue or just because your skin is green, you're not going to not contour your face. So remember those things, because you are still lady, man, whatever gender you've decided, and they're still going to want to look good for either their race or whatever race they're into. Maybe they're interspecies. You never
Can I
know.
interrupt you for a second? I just want to ask you, the contour is a very, very good point.
Yes.
How do you do contour on the colored skin?
So contour for colored skin, anytime that you have dark and light meaning will be a wrinkle or a fold. If, for example, I want a really hard jawline, I would put a lot of dark shading under my chin line. Now I've popped out my jaw, and if I extend it, I can actually make my jaw look like it's longer than it really is. So when you're looking up your actual character, you should also be looking at contour. That's part of the research too. You don't have to learn every bit of contour, but really pay attention to it. When I did my robot for one of my shows, I actually contoured in fades because I was doing a steampunk robot. So I wanted to look like rusted metal places, but I needed it to still look like I had cheek marks. So I actually put a square on my face and then faded it down. So I had this really hard separation as if it was metal, but then I still had some like metal faded cheek pieces. So start researching stuff like that. It'll come to you. It's not rocket science. If you've ever think you can't do it, just hold your hand out and you have contours in your hand, contours already on your face when light hits it, and pay attention to it. If the light hits it and it's darker in a place, guess what? That's where you should contour dark. If it's lighter in a place, that's where you should contour light. And then just move that over to the colors of the character that you're using. So let's do it. So you're making a plan. So when you look at the face, like you're looking for special eyes, any scars, and then don't rush. If I can't I try to give myself hours to do my makeup. I don't wake up early. The party starts when I get there. That's what I always tell people. Like that's what I do. So if I don't get to the con right at 9 o'clock, you know what? I'm gonna get there at 11 and look fabulous. I'm gonna get there at 12 and look fabulous. Don't rush yourself because the extra time you take will make it look so much better and it will be so appreciated. I know it's like, oh my gosh, I was so wanting to see that thing at 9 o'clock. Boo, you don't have your face washed, you ain't got your skin on, you ain't gonna make it. So let it go. Just go and let it go and move on because as was already said, this is your vacation time. You're gonna be with your other cosplayers. Don't make it stressful on yourself and try and do something extra that A, you didn't practice, or B, you're like, I must get it perfect. Start with one side of your face and then try and mimic it. That'll be easier. Don't try and do both at the same time. You'll never get it symmetrical. It just won't work, I promise.
That's why I was late today, by the way. It was my makeup.
Yes, it happens. It happens to us all.
You have a wig here.
Nice contour.
Yeah, can you explain all the...
So the wig portion, so the last little piece, I guess, is for the masking tape and the rest of it. You can use the sunglasses, you pop out the lenses, and those can be eyes, if you're trying to bigger eyes or smaller eyes. Find a pair of sunglasses that matches the general shape of the eye, masking tape it to your eyeballs. Now you can see, but you have dark or different colored eye. Liquid latex over that to smooth it down. A couple things to note about liquid latex is it is very versatile, but there's no pores. So you put it over things and then suddenly it can't absorb. So the trick is that you can use something called Castro Seal, and that will help to create some pores, and you can put your skin color on there.
Where did you get that from?
Also, look, I haven't bought it in a long time.
Joann's?
Yeah.
Joann's?
No, it's not a fabric thing. It's
No, fabric, this is makeup.
Yeah, it's a
You can order on.
Yeah, you can order it online. That's what Castro Seal. Yeah.
Joann's.
Oh, it is on Joann's. Okay. Yes, and you can use it and it'll be perfect. So as far as the wigs go, so a lot of times when you're seeing these aliens and things, there's no way the human hair or hair in general will do what you want it to do, so you need to wear a wig. And if you try and buy a wig for that exact same alien race, it's very expensive. I believe in, for life I believe in balling on a budget, but I also believe in cosplay on a budget. So this wig was actually for Shinobu, which is from No More Heroes 8. I don't know how many of you know the video game, but she wears this white hair and it's beautiful. It's one of the pictures up there. There it is right there. So you see her hair does all these different things. And I looked up and I think it was going to be like $100 to try and get it, and I had like 1 week to make this cosplay happen. So I was like, this is not happening. So what I did is I bought a clown hair wig, and I actually found, so older ladies will wear their hair in their ponytails and they'll want the fluff. So they buy the elastic, and then it has hair already connected to it, and it has white hair already connected to it. I took that all apart, sewed it into the wig, and then I just fluffed it up. I used clear caulk to shape it, and then it holds. And now I have Shinobu. I still have the bangs, I still have the rest of it. I used 2 of them. This cost me probably like $20, $25. And I totally was able to make it by myself. I think the wig cap set maybe was another $2. But don't be afraid to buy something that you're not quite sure of and then just make it your own. You'll see there's a picture in the set of like, it looks like a black woman and she's wearing a regular wig. It's short. I put that as, for those who know Ace Attorney, there's Phoenix Wright. I actually made his entire hair set for a friend of mine. A lot of caulk and some time, and I just brushed it, let it sit and get the hold. I used toothpicks and I spray painted the whole thing black. He loved it, he still wears it. There's a picture of him in it in the photo set. And it took me some time. It was after I I live a very full life, like I'm sure Michael does as well. So it was late in the evening, and I'd do a piece, let it dry, do a piece, let it dry, and then, you know, by the time it was time for us to go to the cosplay, it was fine.
So I want to give time for
Oh, okay.
questions. So
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I think that you can do anything you want with wigs. Don't be afraid of them, and please, please, please look at YouTube, look at other things, and don't be afraid to cut. Wigs don't grow their hair back, but it doesn't matter. Just cut them. I cut many a wig, I fucked up many a wig, and it happens. Just don't be afraid of them. A lot of people get afraid.
What was the construction time of the machine?
This one, I'm gonna say probably 2 hours, 3 hours. But I'm used to doing my own hair a lot, so I was like, oh, clown wig sewing, oop, just threw a couple stitches in there. But you know, take some time and really find the things that pop out about the wig that make that character special, and then that's what you need to recreate. That's what you focus on. The rest of it is window dressing. So no one even knew the difference, that this didn't come down a certain way or it didn't flop out. So question
okay,
is,
great. Anyone have any questions? No questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm gonna be doing a.
yeah,
It's on.
it's on, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna be doing a full Starfleet uniform, and I'd like to figure out how to do the Bajoran nose.
So you can actually buy the Bajoran nose. I'm actually doing a Bajoran look myself, so I bought the nose. And the thing that I'm doing to make it special is I am customizing my earring, because every Bajoran has a different earring. You can tell, oh, Bajoran has a different earring. So I'm buying a nose, I'm going to liquid latex it onto my own nose, and then just use some foundation and color it to match mine. The nose is beautiful, and you could actually use a wax for it that Van Nuys sells, like a molding wax, if you wanted to build the nose from scratch. But like I said, I only have so much time. The nose, I think I got it shipped to me for like $10. So it's worth it. To me, it was worth the $10 investment, so I didn't have to build that nose from scratch. And I'm just liquid latexing that bad boy on, and I'm gonna look fabulous with this earring that I'm customizing. So that's why I'm putting my time into the earring instead of putting my time into.
What do you use to have the latex stick to your skin? Because I know a lot of people use the.
You can, so when you buy the nose, they actually come with attached, they'll come with little stickies inside. The liquid latex will help to seal it actually to your face. And then you want to throw foundation over that, and then powder away.
Another thing is spirit gum. Spirit gum will stick on. Ben, stand up, please.
Poor kids.
As you can see, my son has the Vulcan ears
Yes.
that you use spirit gum to attach. And then
I thought that was.
no, you got stuff in your rice. Anyway, okay. So you can then stick it on and then use spirit gum remover. Be careful that if you have a latex allergy, you will get red, because my son gets red in the ears when we remove them. And you gotta remove them very delicately if you don't really fully take off the spirit gum, because you're gonna end up pulling skin.
Is there another material that can be used to make these type of designs other than latex?
Well, you can use the wax mold, will allow you to do it, but it's just, you're gonna put some time in, and it's more work, but it's totally doable. And you can also, I would stick with the wax mold is what I would do, because it just it's easier to build. You take it out, you mold it up, and then you start building it onto your ear. But not everyone has that time, so you can buy the ears as he did, and then just go ahead and put the spirit gum on, and then foundation to match it to your own skin tone, or to change the skin tone of what's there. They don't actually sell, I think, POC Vulcan, so a lot of times you have to change the color. If your skin is a different color, you will have to change it.
I want to add also MAC products, MAC. That company has a store on, I think it's 47th and Broadway. They have a whole line of Star Trek inspired makeup. So it's a lot of shimmers and gleams and very rich colors. So for women and men, because it's just makeup that you will want to use for your alien character. Because as you see, a lot of the Star Trek characters in a uniform don't wear a whole lot of makeup. Exotic makeup is mainly what you see on aliens. So MAC products you go there and say, I'm a Star Trek costume, and that's all you have to say, it will take you right to the section with the Star Trek, and it is fabulous. I have the silver here, it's from them, and they just have a lot of rich, wonderful colors. Are there any other questions, sir?
I have another question about the Bajoran cosplay. You said that you were customizing an earring. Do you make the earring?
No, so I actually went on Amazon, and so when you buy the Bajoran nose, there's an ear, Major Kira's earring comes with it. I am not part of Major Kira's house. That's not what that particular character cosplay is going to be for me. So I went online, and if you put in like ear cuffs, they'll show you a whole line of earrings that have ear cuffs to them, and then you can find some that are big or small, and so you can either buy one of those, or you can find your own charms to put on the earring. My biggest thing was I wanted the main earring piece to be completely different. So that was my thought, but you can buy your own charms, you can find little charms and put it on there. Just remember, your ears are delicate. Don't buy a giant charm and think, I'm gonna walk around like this all day. No, you're not. You're not. So buy small, like maybe kids charms that are made of lightweight stuff, and then you can just attach them with a pair of needle nose pliers, you open those bad boys up, put it back together, squeeze it tight, you're good. So you can customize it and really make your own kind of Bajoran house like that.
And make sure you're wearing the Bajoran earring on the right ear.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions?
Yes.
What are some of your favorite resources in terms of websites to buy stuff for cosplay? You mentioned Amazon, but like, are there any like household names where you would go to for
Escape
cosplay?
Props.
What's it called?
Escape Props, I think it is. If you do Starfleet stuff, they have all the resin pins, props. They also sell fabric for any of the original series stuff, plus the patents. So it's like one-stop shop.
Also, do a search for Star Trek uniform forums. There's 2 out there on Yuko, 1701, Star Trek forum. That's where I get a lot of my information from. It's guys that are making uniforms that are, and Anavos is on there too. So the guys from Anavos are a part of the forum, and they're up there talking about what they're coming out with, how they designed this. And it's a forum that we all are on there. We're like, oh, I'm making this, and I found this out. And people have actually screen-used uniforms, and they actually are showing how they actually made the insides. And a lot of the information I got from there went into my uniforms. And just do a search. Just do a search. The internet's great. As long as you're using it for legal means and non-other things, the wealth of information is up there, and for costuming, and you'd be surprised what you can find.
There's also, I like to do swap things, so I'll use Depop, D-E-P-O-P, it's an app, and you can actually find uniforms from other countries and purchase them and have them come in. So like my Ahura outfit is actually not from this country because I didn't like the ones that were in the US, and I bought one out of the UK from a little shop, not from the shop itself, but somebody was getting rid of it. So I paid the extra, had it shipped over, and I love it. It's amazing. And you can talk to the seller, they'll take measurements for you, they'll put it on for you. They're very, very nice. But you can buy things from Germany, you can buy some from the US as well, but it's basically one big swap meet, and everybody's like, I just want to get rid of this thing. So whatever it is, it's great.
Okay, guys, that's it for right now. I have these items here if someone wants to take them. They are more than welcome, that's why we bought them. There's vinyl here, which is great for making leather-like costumes. A lot of people don't want to buy leather, so they use heavy vinyl. So if anybody wants any aspects and parts of these foams or any of the material, you're more than welcome. We also have the women and men's chart. If you have more questions, we have a website. You can join our group and you can ask questions. And our group is filled with a lot of people who do costumes, so you can definitely get your questions answered.
Another thing is you can get a regular uniform from someplace, like for example, Eric Stand Up. You can take it and you can actually update it and customize it almost to make it look screen accurate. So I removed the shoulder strap that came with it and added the actual, show them the twist lock, Eric. The actual twist lock, I added it in so that he can actually feel like he's wearing a Monster Maroon. And the armband I added on the department branch onto his armband. So you can customize stuff off the shelf as well. So there's no rule, and like what Mike had said earlier, Star Trek cosplay is more open than Star Wars where you have to be accurate and stuff. So thank you for your time, and it was great for you guys to attend.